to create new jobs and very different kind of activities.
Professor Tofan touched on, I think, two of the really important aspects of why Romania is changing so quickly. One is its resources. You may picture Romania as many, Eastern European communist country as being, horribly polluted and industrial. And in fact, Romania is not like that at all. You have the beautiful Carpathian Mountains and the tremendous natural resources of the Carpathian Mountains. You have United Nations biosphere preserves in the mountains, also the Danube Delta, one of the largest wetlands in the world. You have the Black Sea and the beautiful coasts, which are tourist areas. You have heritage sites, the painted monasteries that were built by Stefan the Great when they were fighting the Turks during the ancient times. And those locations of those resources, both culturally and natural resources, make it a very attractive place for development. The Nestle Corporation, for example, and the Coca-Cola Corporation bottle tremendous amounts of water from the Carpathian Mountains to sell in Western Europe. The second aspect is just the spatial location where it is, right in the Balkans, right next to Turkey, Ukraine, and it's a strategic location that the United States recognizes. And things are changing very rapidly in Romania because it has resources that can generate income and profits in a capitalist society. But it also strategically located, and the United States will be moving 3 of its military bases there because of its location. So it's generating a lot of interest for 2 very powerful reasons that cause change to happen extremely quickly. Since I've been there in 2004, I've seen phenomenal changes. It's sometimes difficult to recognize the differences between communities that I saw first 3 years ago and when I go back today.
Well, we've got our break coming up, and I want to follow up on sort of how and why this change was made. We'll be back in just a moment on International Focus.
The Institute of World Affairs presents our community with a range of public programs relating to global issues, U.S. foreign policy, and the world economy. For more information about the Institute of World Affairs, call 414-229-3220 or visit our website at www.iwa.uwm.edu.
Welcome back to International Focus. We're talking about Romania with Professor Lucica Tofan from Ovidius University in Romania and Professor Tim Erlinger from UW Milwaukee. And Tim, maybe we can follow up on some of the reasons why, the assets that Romania had that made it ripe for this development process. But the big question for me, even with those advantages, is when you hear about development, oftentimes it's portrayed as a trade-off between the environmental concerns you were talking about, Professor Tofan, and the economic growth, and that you sort of have to choose one or the other, and that people usually choose economic growth at the expense of the environment. But you seem to be saying you did both. So you're doing both. How is that happening?
I could answer you to this question. It was very good that we made an effort to be integrated in the European Union, because the governments have to sign to respect the European legislation for environmental protection. And we review all the sources of pollution. We counted all the complex, all the industrial big complexes, and tried to prepare a plan for them to respect the legislation and to accord them a period for confirmation and to achieve the standards, to respect the environmental protection. I think this is very important. It is a big step for our country.
And that's one of the major roles that the university has to begin to play there. Because the Romanian government has signed on to many agreements, they don't have the human infrastructure right now to actually meet them. And so there's the need for training, there's the need for developing the workforce that can do this kind of sustainable development. One of the dangers I see is that Western models of economic development are being pushed in some of these areas. For example, I fear that in agricultural policy, many of the small village farms, which have been maintained for thousands of years in some cases, will have a difficult time surviving and moving into a European economy. The United States, U.S. Agency for International Development, and the European Union are promoting taking the small farms and merging them into larger farms. This creates tremendous environmental problems. It also creates cultural problems because you're losing much of the traditions and the heritage of the small farms. Romania is a very rural agricultural culture, rural agricultural, peasant economy, and we're hoping that through the strategies we're developing, working in this multidisciplinary team, we can find ways that the economy can develop without losing some of these really important traditions.
So you've added another layer of complexity here, which is also maintaining the cultural heritage, which is also something that tends to get trampled on when you go through this rapid phase of development.
Very much so. And Romania, as Professor Tofan had mentioned, is unique in some ways because it's a Latin culture that was isolated for 1,000 years following the fall of the Roman Empire. And it has some very unique and really wonderful traditions in the Carpathians and parts of that country.
And so can you talk some about the program specifically? So what is the approach? What is the approach to how you take these three very important variables, economic development, sort of environmental sustainability, and cultural preservation? How do you proceed on all three?
Well, you have to understand we're doing it in one location in Romania, which is Gorj County, which was tremendously bludgeoned by the economic policies of mining. And the European Union has tremendous amounts, in the World Bank, money. So number one is there's tremendous amount of money to be spent in Romania. So we're basically looking at building the economy from the ground up. So we have Professor Tofan and her colleagues looking at the environmental resources, what can be developed there as a template. Then you layer upon that the cultural resources, and you look at these layers and do what we call a hotspot analysis, to say where are the potentials for growth, what is the potential for development, and can we put together a plan that will convince investors that there is the potential for economic profitable growth to occur in these regions. Ecotourism, agriculture, and manufacturing, because they have a very strong basis in the mining industry there, many machinists, for example. The problem is that many of them left with the economic collapse, and so you've had a tremendous exodus of talented people, and now the challenge is to convince them to come back home.
But I think that is very important to have a very close partnership with the communities, with some communities there. And we developed such a collaboration with them to know what they want to develop there. Because maybe we were so many years isolated in Europe, and maybe we lost the trust in people from abroad, maybe. Maybe we should know to have trust and to understand what means the partnerships, the collaboration, and to have a change of our ideas. There are many people high educated there. They have knowledges, but they have not experienced how to work in a team and how to make their ideas to be a reality, to have a dream. And I think that I could be an interface between my people there, community, and the team from United States that has a great experience. And just I visited some areas that have been developed here on Menominee.